It's 2 AM, you hate yourself because you're still scrolling, even though you said just one more video. I've been there, I've done that, I did it last night, and it's something I've done since I was a teenager. So recently, I've decided to look into the causes of it, and why we do it, and how to stop, most importantly. If this all sounds familiar to you, then you're probably just as much of a mug as I am. But thankfully, at the end of this video, maybe we'll all be able to stop going on our phone just before we go to bed. So revenge procrastination is when individuals decide to delay going to bed because they feel like they can try and regain a sense of control over their time, even though the person knows it's going to make them less productive and more tired in the future. And this tends to happen when people feel like they don't have a sense of control due to family commitments, work, school, and as a result, the only time they can find any sort of management of their own time is before they go to sleep. This isn't just a bad habit that we have, to be clear. This is a genuine issue. I mean, this 2024 study showed that there's a negative association between delaying sleep for personal leisure time and academic achievement. In other words, the more we binge YouTube at 2 AM, the worse our brain functions. I mean, duh. The study rightfully points out that, unlike a few decades ago, we now have 24/7 entertainment services. We can stream whenever we want, we can download apps whenever we want, we can scroll whenever we want. And so, unsurprisingly, it's kind of crept up on us until it's seemingly too late. Like any other form of procrastination, this involves a voluntary delay of a task, despite knowing that there'll be detrimental effects in the long term. So if we can work out why we're willing to just shaft our future self, then hopefully we can work out how to stop doing this as well. This study investigated the causes. It said that the main reason for this is due to a lack of self-regulation. No surprises there, obviously. I know I should get to bed, and yet I don't because I'm a tool and I'd rather scroll on Instagram for 20 minutes. That makes a lot of sense. Importantly though, what this does mean is that whatever solution we try and find can't simply be willpower. It can't just be that I'm just going to stop going on my phone, because it's not a case of us not wanting to, it's just that we can't, we don't have that willpower. I mean, especially after you've had some sort of girthy day and you can't be asked. Now the second thing that this study reminds us is that actually the whole cause of this, the root of this whole issue, is not from the evening, but it's from the day. The real reason we do this is because we don't have enough time in the day, or it doesn't feel like we have enough time or control of the day. I mean, the whole term of revenge procrastination is pointing towards the fact that we're taking revenge on the day, I guess, for not being able to give us enough time. And I know that doesn't really make sense when we're staying up because we want to watch some bloke day drinking and smoking in a park for 40 minutes or some other stuff like that. But the point is that we do feel like we want to have our own little sphere of influence, and oftentimes we don't have that in the day. I mean, we've got to remember here that by staying up late, we're not just winning some sort of small battle, we're actually losing the war and our will to live with it. I mean, there are plenty of studies that are highlighting how staying up late isn't just making you tired and worsening your academic performance, but it is actually decreasing your entire mood as well. So any groggy and irritable feeling you might have felt in the morning might come from this revenge procrastination complex that you didn't even know you had. Now I could say, just put your phone down, but if you're anything like me, then right now you'll probably be responding to a group chat, checking notifications, and putting yourself through the pain of watching something like Snapchat Reels or Facebook Reels in the hope that it feels like you're being slightly more productive by not being on TikTok. And so, as we've discussed, clearly this isn't something we can fix by changing our mindset, but actually we need to change our environment. If your phone is within arm's reach of your bed, then you're already setting yourself up for failure. Now, it might be quite difficult already to just kind of throw your phone across the room and hope that will stop you. It might be a better start to maybe move your charger away so that, hey, whenever you get into bed, at least when your phone dies, that is the end. You can't go on and just plug yourself in. The thought of actually having to physically get up out of bed, walk across the room with the risk of stubbing your toe against your desk, suddenly makes the idea of TikTok a lot less appealing. This might sound stupid, I know, but what you've let your brain do is essentially associate bedtime with scroll time. You've trained yourself like Pavlov's dog, except instead of salivating for the sound of a bell, you're salivating for a quick dopamine rush, you absolute heathen. The solution is to reset the association. This doesn't mean just lobbing your phone out the window, but you need to put your phone on your desk or a shelf or in another room even. And what this will mean is that your brain will start to realise that bed means sleep and not scroll. And so here's the thing, you can't just expect not to have any stimulation for your brain. You need to do something clearly. You can't just remove your phone and have nothing in its place. What you should do instead is try and replace it with something that's low effort. Something that will help your brain to enter a nicer state that's calmer and easier to get to bed to. And this substitute that you're going to try and find shouldn't try and be this dramatic productivity bro shift. Like, you can't start trying to read War and Peace. You shouldn't say, right, I'm going to start journaling for an hour every night. Like, these are all going to be such dramatic shifts that you need something that's going to let you be a little bit smaller, that the transition from phone to whatever will be easier. So here's a few recommendations. So I'd say a Kindle or a book are good places to start. Something that's nice and easy, something that's casual, something you can read without having to focus too much, ideally. And what's nice with a book is that if you always go on your phone 2 hours before you get to bed, what you can do is try and just shift that dial slightly. So on your first night, if you normally spend 2 hours, just 10 minutes before you go to sleep, close your phone and read for 10 minutes. Then the next night, read for 15 minutes and only go on your phone for an hour and 45. And so on, until eventually maybe you only go on your phone for 1 hour and then you read for a whole hour. And what you'll be able to do is steadily shift what your phone is doing at night until eventually it's completely redundant and you're doing something else in its place entirely. Maybe it's worth trying to find a nice easy podcast as well. I mean, one of the nice features you can do is setting it for half an hour before you go to bed. So you can sit there and listen for 45 minutes, and hey, if you drift off during that, then happy days. One of the things that podcasts or books have in common as well is that actually you're investing in some sort of journey. If you're scrolling constantly, then at most you're looking at something for 10 or 15 seconds. If you're watching a load of YouTube videos before you go to bed, then you're still only watching for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. Instead, by listening to a podcast or reading a book, you're setting yourself up to a much bigger commitment of time and energy. A book might take you 7, 8, 9 hours of time to read. I mean, a podcast, you might start listening to a series, and suddenly you actually realise that at the end of a week you have something to show for yourself before you go to bed, rather than just sitting around scrolling. Ultimately, we don't want to be drastic with whatever we do. If you think you're suddenly going to be able to get to bed at 10 o'clock and you're going to put your phone away at 5 p.m, then you're kidding yourself and you're just going to fall into a habit of self-loathing and hate yourself even more than you already do. What you're better off doing is just saying, hey, I'm going to make a gradual investment of time to slowly get my phone out of my bedtime routine, until eventually you will be able to get to bed whatever time it is without going on your phone for 45 minutes. This was a bit of a game changer for me, because instead of falling into this weird void of saying, hey, I'm going to keep scrolling until I find the next best reel, which will then just let you fall into a pit of misery, you're better off saying, look, I'm going to keep scrolling for 10 minutes. So whatever I find at the end of the 10 minutes, I call it a day. Even if I have a really good one just before that 10 minutes is done. This then just reframes any sort of activity on your phone as not some sort of like endless ritual, but something with an actual finish line, something will end eventually. And the nice thing is that while you're trying to kick your habit at the start, this will be a nice soft landing for you. The nice thing is you're still going to get your fix. You'll still get that sweet dopamine rush that you've been craving. But ultimately, you're not going to go cold turkey and just quit and go back to going on your phone the whole time. Instead, you'll be able to steadily phase out the use of your phone. Let's not forget that breaking the cycle is going to be very tough. I mean, going on your phone because you can't sleep isn't just a cause, but also a symptom. The less you sleep, the more you feel bored and angry and hating yourself. So the more you go on your phone to try and alleviate all of those feelings. It's kind of a negative spiral and some sort of insomniac's wet dream. But if you can just steadily phase out your use of your phone and find little wins and ways you can reduce your phone usage, then after a few weeks of going on your phone only half an hour before bed, you notice the difference. And if you can reach a point where you're not going on your phone for an hour before you sleep, then you'll be loving life. Not all procrastination is bad though. And if you want to check out this video, then I'll explain how procrastinating actually got me into Cambridge. Otherwise, if you're trying to get some sleep now and you need some dulcet tones to guide you off, then I suggest checking out this video.